Hello, lovely people. I'm Shaq, and welcome. Today I am going to share a little bit about a sewing project that I want to get started on. It's going to take me forever, so I want to make a start of it. So it's a smoking jacket by Folkwear. I have set aside this fabric for the lapels and cuffs and lapel. I conjugated that wrong. I have cut the whole thing out of linen, and I am going to do a crazy quilt application of silks and velvets on the outside. So I want to turn the camera around and share that with you. I have pulled this stack of velvets and silks from my stash, and none of it is big enough to make anything more than say a hat out of. But there's plenty altogether to do this project. So I cut a bunch of pieces, and I have been placing them on here to be stitched down later after I've worked out this. I have thought about say stitching it down on the machine, but I don't trust myself with that. I have tried doing that in the past, and it's gone wrong. This kind of project, for me, works better if I do it by hand. And I'm still debating on whether or not to stitch these pieces down by hand and then go back with a decorative stitch. But I plan on using this DMC, and you cannot really see it there unless I put it over my hand. It doesn't have the label anymore, but I think it's a number 10. Might be a 20. But I'll then use that to do embroidery stitches along where we join it together, you know, like a feather stitch or maybe a blanket stitch or something else. We'll do more than one. It'll be a variety of different stitches. And my iron just broke, so none of this is ironed, which is what I would recommend. I would totally recommend having all these pieces ironed and maybe the edges turned under and pressed in place. But I'll just have to be extra mindful as I stitch it down if I haven't managed to replace the iron. So this came from a project. This is a reclaim piece. So it actually has a finished edge here, so I'm not having to turn that. And I'm going to just stick it in place, and I'll decide whether or not that edge gets turned under when I get there, you know? So this piece is going to be the one that is turned under. It is easier to turn under the silks, but sometimes it looks better if you turn under the velvet over the top of it. So I'm just doing a mixture of that. And I kind of do the upper edges as I put them down. And then I have been leaving the lower edges to have cover it as I go. Hopefully I got this in the right place. It's looking like maybe I'm not quite up high enough. So just take it off, scooch up a little, and make sure that you've got all your edges covered from the previous patches. And let me know in the comments how familiar you are, if at all, with crazy quilts. They were, I think, are a Victorian era creation. I know that those are the samples that I've seen, and they have lots of really fanciful fabrics involved. I might even pull out some lace and apply it over the top as I move along on this. But for right now, I'm just trying to get a variety here. I did choose to cut out all the edges of my different pieces straight. So there's a lot of straight edges on here, although this one's got a weird space, which I might just end up leaving that to go under. And there is a variety here. So like the main jacket piece is linen. These pieces here, there's this, everything that's satin or shiny in any way is silk. But the velvets, like some of them are rayon, some of them are cotton. There may be even a silk based velvet in here. I don't know. It's been long enough. I can't remember if I was able to get the silk velvet when I was looking for silk velvet. I know that some of them for sure are, like this I know is rayon, and that's cotton. So there's some I absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt what it is. You might recognize that over here from our Christmas vests, Yule vests. When I get this done and stitched on here, I'll go back and I'll cut off anything that is sticking out beyond the edge of the piece, and then assemble after I've got all the pieces covered in velvets and silks. So I had a debate with myself about whether or not to baste these down. Since I decided against the machine stitching, there's part of me that's just like, you're really going to make it hard on yourself if you don't at least baste it in place. So then you have the debate of whether or not to go with something highly visible or whether to use a thread that is going to blend in really well. And I decided on highly visible. So I've got my vibrant pink here, and I'm going to baste some of this in place, partially because, well, it takes a lot of pins to pin this down, and I'm running out. So we're gonna baste it down so we can free up some pins. And it also gets really hard to stitch this when you've got all these pins stuck in here. So I don't want to make my decorative stitches harder or more difficult by having to watch out for getting stuck on the thread, or the thread getting stuck on the pins. Needles, pins. Yeah, okay. So I've come to a realization on wearing my mask to protect me from fragrance and other chemicals that are just present in everyday life when I go out. So at home, it's a pretty fragrance-free environment. We don't have any sources of much of anything, no formaldehyde, really, no, I'm trying to think of the other chemicals that cause me grief, and I'm not coming up with names. It's been too long since I did the research and found out where they were and how to avoid them. But the filters really don't last past 8 hours. In fact, sometimes I think they don't make it 8 hours. Last week, I went to the hospital to get some x-rays done, and they didn't make it throughout the visit. So I got a little bit sick from that. And then this weekend was the studio tour, which I helped set up, and then was there for most of the day on Sunday, just so people could kind of put a face with the artist. And my mask was probably barely made it to the end of Sunday, but then I went back on Monday, and the studio is not a friendly place for me. So I was kind of wiped out last night with a headache and whatnot. And I was just like, well, we can't take off another week because of this. We're gonna just have to get up and do. And I've been working on prepping this to share, and I figured I had it far enough along to give you an idea of what I was doing with it. And I feel like I'm kind of off the edge of the focal point of the video, but I can't move this around a whole lot. Anyway, so it's been challenging lately, and the filters are not cheap, and in fact the price just went up on them. So that means that I'm probably going to be limited to medical runs and things like that, not doing other stuff. No more fun for me, for a while at least. And also have had some interesting reactions to HRT. If you want to hear about that, let me know down in the comments. No gory details of stuff that you know, TMI stuff that just, if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it. So there's that. This is not, of course I chose to go down the pink piece, you know, to tack down the pink piece first. And I'm getting a curved line here, which I think that's totally all right, you know. It was cut straight, but it's coming out curved, and I think that's okay. So I'll have to be able to take this stitching out after I do the decorative stitch, so hopefully I don't stitch through it, you know. And I put in my requisition for a new iron. Arthur told me it was going to be a minute before he could buy a new iron, but I gave him a link to the one I want, so hopefully it won't be too long. It really makes sewing up anything difficult if you don't have an iron. Part of the reason why I switched to this kind of project is I like to have a knitting or crochet and a sewing project going so that I can decide which thing I want to work on that evening, you know, because they're different. They take different muscle memory, different focus, and I wanted to have options and not just have one project going. Make sure I haven't pulled that too tight. Also, this piece is curved. The seam going through here is slightly curved, and I'm trying not to mess that up. So when I pinned everything in place, I needed to make sure that it was smooth and following the curve, you know, allowing the garment to still curve at the elbow. So this is your sign to go and start some project that, and you know, something that's, how about bright and cheerful to you? Something that you would find fun. So I've got this, and along here, basted down. That's it. That's where I stopped, so that I could share this part. We're gonna try and do a blanket stitch. I feel a little dyslexic on this. I'm not knotting the end. That was confusing. I'm not putting a knot in the end of the embroidery because I want to not have knots all over the place, so it'll just get caught, or I'll do something a little more flat to seize it underneath stitches afterwards. I always get so confused starting the blanket stitch. I don't know what it is about the start that's kind of just throws me off. I'm going to have to get out my embroidery book and look up some other stuff to keep this interesting, because I don't want to do it all exactly the same. But you get the idea here. When I get to the where it joins up here with the pink, I'll switch stitches to something else. And I think I'm going to just anchor that right there. So now I have to decide on which to go around here if I want to continue working in the black. Although since I just got caught on a straight pin, I think I need to go back and finish basting everything. So I guess that's it for today. I hope you have a delightful day, a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.